The emergency meeting began at midnight in the deepest levels of Terra Command. President Andrew Hayes sat at the head of the steel table, his face showing the weight of leading humanity through its darkest hour. Around him sat the most powerful people on Earth, all summoned within hours of Admiral Sullivan's return from Nexus Prime. General Lisa Brooks opened a thick folder marked with red security warnings. Mr. President, what I'm about to show you has been classified at the highest levels for 20 years. Only 12 people on Earth know about Project Ironclad. Hayes nodded grimly. Show me everything, General. If we're going to war with the entire galaxy, I need to know what weapons we have. Brooks activated a holographic display that filled the center of the room. Images of massive starships appeared, their designs unlike anything in the current human fleet. These vessels were angular and aggressive, built for one purpose: war. The Ragnarok-class battleships, Brooks explained. We've been building them in secret shipyards throughout the asteroid belt. Each one carries enough firepower to destroy a small moon. We have 12 operational, with 8 more nearing completion. Dr. Helen Wade leaned forward, her scientific mind already analyzing the tactical data. General, these ships are 3 times larger than our current destroyers. How did we keep their construction secret? The same way we've kept everything else secret, replied Commander Ryan Torres from the shadows near the door. His Ghost Squadron had been operating in deep space for years, gathering intelligence that officially didn't exist. We told the Council. We were mining asteroids for raw materials. They never bothered to check what we were actually building. Hayes studied the ship designs. What about weapons? The Council has energy shields that can stop our current missiles. Wade stood up, activating another section of the display. That's where quantum torpedoes come in. Traditional weapons try to break through energy barriers. Our torpedoes phase through them completely. The barrier might as well not exist. Impossible, said Admiral Sullivan, who had remained quiet until now. The physics don't work that way. They do if you understand quantum mechanics better than the Council does. Wade replied with a slight smile. We've had 50 years to study their technology, reverse engineer their systems, and improve on their designs. While they've grown comfortable with their ancient advantages, we've been learning. Torres stepped into the light, revealing scars on his face that spoke of dangerous missions in hostile territory. The Council thinks humanity has maybe 200 combat ships. The real number is over 800, including the new Ragnarok fleet. Where have we been hiding them? Hayes asked. Everywhere, Brooks answered. Disguised as cargo haulers. Hidden in asteroid fields, parked in systems the Council considers worthless. Our entire merchant marine is actually a reserve navy. Colonel Amy Peterson activated her section of the display, showing detailed maps of Council space. Sir, I've been working on war plans for 15 years. The Council expects us to defend Earth and our colonies. That's what any rational species would do. But we're not going to be rational, Hayes said, beginning to understand. Exactly. Instead of waiting for them to attack us, we hit them first. Hard and fast, targeting their industrial centers and command structures. By the time they realize what's happening, we'll have crippled their ability to respond. Sullivan frowned at the tactical display. Amy, you're talking about attacking 7 different star systems simultaneously. The logistics alone are impossible. Not with our new ships, Wade interjected. The Prometheus engine gives us faster-than-light travel that the Council can't detect or track. We can be anywhere in the galaxy within hours. Torres nodded agreement. I've been mapping their defenses for years. The elder races rely on automated systems and predictable patrol patterns. They haven't fought a real war in centuries. Their military is more for show than actual combat. Hayes stood up, pacing around the room as he processed the information. You're telling me we can actually win this war? We can do more than win, Brooks said firmly. We can liberate half the galaxy. In the process, my intelligence reports show that dozens of species are tired of Council oppression. They're just waiting for someone to lead a rebellion. The Corvan Republic has been sending us secret messages for months, added Peterson. They want to join any alliance against the Council. So do the Nexari, the Altarians, and at least 6 other species. Wade brought up another display showing strange alien technology. The Nexari are brilliant engineers, but the Council forces them to design weapons under threat of extinction. If we free them, they've promised to upgrade our entire fleet. Sullivan studied the plans more carefully. This is incredibly risky. If we fail, Earth gets destroyed and every human colony becomes a slave world. If we do nothing, Earth becomes a prison planet and the colonies get abandoned anyway, Hayes replied. At least this way we're fighting for our freedom instead of begging for mercy. Torres stepped forward with a new urgency in his voice. Sir, there's something else. My scouts report that Council fleets are already moving toward human space. They're not planning to wait 30 days. The attack could come within a week. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. The Council had never intended to honor their own ultimatum. They had decided to crush humanity regardless of any surrender. Hayes looked around the table at each person. How long do we need to launch our attack? 72 hours, Brooks answered immediately. The fleet is already positioned. We just need final authorization and target confirmation. And our people on the colony worlds? We evacuate who we can, but most will have to stay and fight, Peterson said honestly. The alternative is abandoning them to Council mercy, and we know how much mercy they show. Hayes walked to the window overlooking the city lights of New Geneva. Somewhere out there, ordinary families were sleeping peacefully, unaware that their government was planning the largest military operation in human history. Dr. Wade, he said without turning around, how confident are you in our technology? Completely confident, sir. We're not just matching Council capabilities, we're exceeding them. General Brooks, how confident are you in our strategy? The plan will work, Mr. President. The question is whether we have the courage to execute it. Hayes turned back to face the room. Then we're going to war. Send the authorization codes. Begin Operation Wildfire. As the meeting broke up, each person hurrying to their assigned tasks, Sullivan approached Hayes privately. Andrew, once we start this, there's no going back. We'll be fighting the entire galaxy. Hayes nodded, his expression resolute. Kate, 50 years ago, first contact was supposed to bring humanity into a community of peaceful civilizations. Instead, we found bullies and tyrants who see us as threats to be contained. He paused, looking up at the stars visible through the window. Maybe it's time the galaxy learned what humans do to bullies. 3 hours later, coded messages went out to secret bases throughout human space. The hidden fleet began moving toward their targets, carrying weapons the Council had never seen and driven by a determination that had carried humanity from caves to the stars. The war for galactic freedom was about to begin. The U's vengeance dropped out of hyperspace like a predator emerging from darkness. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, watching as the Zephyrian home system appeared on the main screen. 3 planets orbited a blue-white star, their surfaces covered with the gleaming cities of an ancient civilization. Orbital platforms and defense stations surrounded each world, weapons that had protected this system for thousands of years. All ships report ready, Captain, announced Lieutenant Sarah Price. Around the Vengeance, 11 other Ragnarok-class battleships materialized from hyperspace, their quantum engines leaving no trace for enemy sensors to detect. Morrison activated the fleet communication system. This is Vengeance Actual to all units. Operation Wildfire is now active. Remember, we target military and government installations only, no civilian areas. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out in 6 other star systems. Admiral Kate Sullivan commanded the assault on the Hive Queen's core world, while other human fleets struck at the remaining elder races simultaneously. The largest military operation in human history had begun with perfect coordination. On the Zephyrian capital planet below, High Chancellor Vakestar was meeting with his military advisors when the alarms began screaming. General Kethver, commander of the Zephyrian Defense Forces, rushed into the council chamber with panic written across his pale features. Chancellor, we have incoming ships. Human vessels, but not like anything in our intelligence files. Vextar's glowing eyes narrowed. Impossible. Humans don't have the technology for stealth insertion into our core systems. Sir, they're all ready. Here, 12 massive battleships positioned around our outer defense grid. The Chancellor activated the main communication array, sending a message toward the human fleet. This is High Chancellor Vextar to the human vessels. You are in violation of Galactic Council space. Withdraw immediately or face destruction. Morrison's reply came back cold and clear. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Forces. You gave humanity an ultimatum. Here's ours. Surrender your military forces and prepare for occupation, or we will take your worlds by force. Vextar's laughter echoed through the communication channel. Primitive mammals think their crude vessels can challenge our ancient might. Activate all defense platforms. Show these humans the power of the Zephyrian Empire. The first exchange of fire lit up space around the Zephyrian homeworld. Energy beams that could slice through asteroids struck the human ships, but the advanced shields held firm. The Zephyrians had never encountered quantum-enhanced defensive systems before. Shields holding at 98%, reported Chief Engineer Tom Bradley from his station. Their weapons can't penetrate our new barrier technology. Morrison smiled grimly. Return fire. Target their command platforms first. The Vengeance unleashed its quantum torpedoes, weapons that phased through the Zephyrian energy shields like they were made of air. The first salvo destroyed 3 orbital defense stations in brilliant explosions that lit up the planet's night side. General Kethver watched in horror as his supposedly impregnable defenses crumbled. How are they doing this? Our shields should stop any physical projectile. They're not using physical projectiles, replied his science advisor, studying the sensor readings. These weapons exist in quantum flux. They bypass our defensive barriers completely. The battle shifted quickly in humanity's favor. Human ships move with precision and speed. There are eye-controlled systems adapting to Zephyrian tactics in real time. The defenders fought bravely, but their ancient weapons and predictable strategies were no match for human innovation. Lieutenant Commander Steve Martinez piloted his stealth cruiser, UE Shadow, through the chaos of battle, his mission separate from the main assault. While the Ragnarok fleet kept the enemy distracted, Martinez slipped past their sensors toward the planet's communication hub. Shadow to Vengeance, he reported over secure channels. I'm approaching the target. Beginning infiltration protocol. The communication center was a massive crystalline structure that coordinated all Zephyrian military forces across their empire. Martinez's team of specialists landed undetected, using advanced camouflage technology that bent light around their forms. Inside the facility, they encountered minimal resistance. The Zephyrians had never imagined that enemies could penetrate so deeply into their territory. Martinez reached the central computer core and activated a small device created by Earth's best programmers, the quantum virus, designed by the young genius Kelly Johnson, spread through the Zephyrian networks like wildfire. But this wasn't just sabotage. The virus began copying and broadcasting classified information across the galaxy, revealing centuries of Council crimes against younger species. Similar operations were succeeding throughout Council space. Human forces struck with surgical precision, targeting leadership and infrastructure while avoiding civilian casualties. The elder races, comfortable in their superiority for millennia, found themselves completely unprepared for humanity's coordinated assault. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Morrison received reports from across the fleet. Captain, the orbital platforms are neutralized. Ground teams report successful capture of the primary government complex. Excellent. Signal Admiral Sullivan. Phase 1 is complete. In the Hive Queen system, Sullivan's forces were achieving similar success against the insectoid defenders. The Hive ships were numerous, but relied on swarming tactics that human AI systems could predict and counter. Admiral, we're receiving surrender requests from 6 Hive worlds, reported her communications officer. Their queen is demanding to speak with you directly. Sullivan's image appeared on screens throughout the Hive fleet. This is Admiral Kate Sullivan of Earth. The Galactic Council has fallen. Surrender your forces and prepare for new leadership. The most shocking victory came at the Nexus Collective's core system, where Captain Ben Carter's forces encountered the legendary Eternal Fleet. These were the Council's elite warships, vessels that had never known defeat in 1,000 years of service. The battle should have been impossible. The Eternal Fleet outnumbered Carter's forces 3-1, with ships powered by technologies humanity barely understood. But human tactics proved superior to ancient arrogance. Carter's ships worked together like parts of a single organism, sharing sensor data and coordinating attacks through quantum communication networks. When the enemy fleet tried to surround them, the humans scattered and regrouped. When the aliens attempted traditional line formations, humanity struck from unexpected angles. All enemy vessels destroyed or disabled, Carter reported to Terra. Command, the Eternal Fleet is no more. The news spread across the galaxy with shocking speed. The Council's most elite military force, undefeated for centuries, had been annihilated by human ships in less than 4 hours. As reports flowed in from all 7 target systems, the scale of humanity's victory became clear. The elder races, military forces were crippled, their leadership captured or fled, and their communications, networks, compromised. But the most important victory was happening across the galaxy as oppressed species received Kelly Johnson's virus broadcasts. The first time, they saw evidence of the Council's true nature. Secret documents revealing forced labor, destroyed civilizations, and brutal suppression of any species that dared to question Council authority. Morrison stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, watching Zephyrian ships surrender one by one. His communication officer handed him an urgent message from Nexus Prime itself. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. They're requesting immediate ceasefire negotiations. Morrison smiled at the irony. 12 hours ago, these same beings had been threatening to destroy humanity. Now they were begging for mercy. Send this reply, Morrison ordered. The human species does not negotiate with tyrants. Surrender unconditionally, or face the consequences. Across human space, similar messages were being sent. The war that was supposed to last years had effectively ended in a single day. But, as Morrison looked at the tactical displays showing human fleets throughout Council territory, he knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity fought not just for survival, but for the freedom of every oppressed species under Council rule. 3 days after the first strike, encrypted messages began arriving at human command centers across the galaxy. The first came to General Lisa Brooks while she was reviewing battle reports in her underground bunker on Earth. General, we're receiving a priority transmission from the Corvan Republic, announced her communications officer. They're requesting immediate contact with human leadership. Brooks activated the secure channel, and the image of Ambassador Ren Korvac appeared on her screen. The Corvan was humanoid but taller, with silver skin and large dark eyes that seemed to hold centuries of wisdom. General Brooks, the Corvan Republic officially recognizes the legitimacy of human military actions against the Galactic Council. We wish to discuss alliance terms. Ambassador, we appreciate your support, but this puts your people at risk. The Council won't forgive species that side with us. Korvac's expression hardened. The Council has oppressed my people for 800 years. They tax our resources, limit our population, and treat us like children. Your victory gives us hope for the first time in generations. Within hours, similar messages were pouring in from across the galaxy. The Altarian Federation, the Nexari engineering collectives, the free worlds of the Outer Rim. Dozens of species were reaching out to humanity, offering alliance against their common oppressors. President Andrew Hayes convened an emergency cabinet meeting to address the flood of diplomatic requests. Dr. Wade, what's our assessment of these potential allies? Helen Wade consulted her intelligence reports. Mr. President, most of these species have valuable resources or technologies that could help our war effort. The Nexari in particular are brilliant engineers. Their technology could upgrade our entire fleet. But can we trust them? Asked Admiral Sullivan, participating via secure transmission from her flagship. Some of these species have been council members for centuries. Ambassador Elena Torres, Hayes' daughter and chief diplomatic liaison, stood up from her seat. Admiral, I've been studying intercepts of their internal communications. These aren't opportunistic power grabs. These species have genuine grievances against the Council, some going back generations. Hayes nodded thoughtfully. Elena, I want you to coordinate with these potential allies. But be careful. We can't afford to trust the wrong people. The first major alliance breakthrough came when Commander Ryan Torres led a rescue mission to the Nexari research facilities in the Kepler sector. Intelligence reports indicated that the Council had been forcing Nexari scientists to design weapons under threat of species extinction. Torres and his Ghost Squadron approached the heavily guarded research station using their advanced stealth technology. The facility was a massive structure built inside a hollowed-out asteroid, protected by automated defense systems and a small Council garrison. Ghost leader to all units, Torres whispered over the COM system. Remember, the Nexari are prisoners, not enemies. Minimal force against the guards, maximum effort to protect the scientists. The assault was swift and precise. Human soldiers in powered armor moved through the facility like shadows, disabling security systems and overwhelming the surprised Council forces. Within 2 hours, they had freed over 300 Nexari scientists who had been working as slaves. For decades. Dr. Kala Nexari, the lead scientist, approached Torres with tears streaming down her face. Human warrior, my people have prayed for this day since the Council first enslaved us. How can we repay such kindness? Help us win this war, Torres replied simply. Use your skills to make our ships faster, our weapons stronger, our defenses better. The Nexari didn't hesitate. Within days, they were working alongside human engineers to create hybrid technologies that surpassed anything either species could build alone. The result was the Prometheus Engine Mark II, a faster-than-light drive that made human ships nearly impossible to track or intercept. Dr. Wade worked closely with the Nexari scientists, combining human adaptability with alien precision. President Hayes, the new engine designs will double our fleet's operational range and cut travel time by 70%. We can be anywhere in the galaxy within hours. But the real game changer came during the Battle of Kepler Station, where the combined human-alien fleet faced the Council's massive retaliatory force. High Chancellor Vextar had gathered the remaining Council fleets from across the galaxy, determined to crush the human rebellion before it could spread further. Admiral Sullivan commanded the Allied fleet from the bridge of the UE's Retribution. Watching as hundreds of enemy ships approached through hyperspace. All units, this is Admiral Sullivan. Today we prove that cooperation is stronger than oppression. The battle showcased humanity's greatest advantage, adaptability. While the Council fleets followed rigid battle formations unchanged for millennia, the human commanders constantly adjusted their tactics. Allied ships shared real-time data through quantum communication networks, allowing instant coordination across the entire fleet. The Corvan ships provided heavy firepower, their weapons designed for long-range bombardment. The Altarian vessels served as mobile repair stations, keeping damaged human ships in the fight. The Nexari contributed advanced sensor technology that could predict enemy movements before they happened. But it was the human tactical doctrine that tied everything together. Captain Jake Morrison, commanding a mixed squadron of human and alien vessels, demonstrated the new approach during the battle's critical moment. All ships, execute Pattern Delta 7, Morrison ordered as Council forces tried to surround his position. Instead of fighting in formation, each ship operated independently while maintaining constant communication with the others. When enemy vessels targeted one ship, the others would provide covering fire. When an opportunity for attack appeared, the entire squadron would coordinate instantly to exploit it. The rigid Council formations couldn't adapt fast enough to counter such flexible tactics. Enemy fleet breaking formation, reported Lieutenant Commander Steve Martinez from his reconnaissance position. They're trying to retreat to hyperspace. Not today, Sullivan replied firmly. All units, pursue and engage. Don't let them regroup for another attack. The battle ended with a decisive Allied victory, but more importantly, it sent a message across the galaxy. The Galactic Council was no longer invincible. Species that had accepted oppression for centuries began to believe that freedom was possible. Colonel Amy Peterson, analyzing intelligence reports from across Council space, brought disturbing news to the next strategy meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a problem. The Council is preparing to use their ultimate weapon. Has looked up from his tactical displays. What ultimate weapon? The Star Killer, sir. It's an ancient device capable of destabilizing a star, causing it to go supernova. They're threatening to destroy Sol unless we surrender immediately. The room fell silent. Everyone understood the implications. The Council was willing to commit genocide rather than accept defeat. Dr. Wade studied the technical specifications that Peterson had obtained through her spy networks. Mr. President, if they activate this weapon, Earth dies along with everyone. In the Sol system, 8 billion people. How long do we have? Hayes asked. Based on their transmission, 72 hours to surrender unconditionally. Sullivan's image appeared on the main screen, her expression grim. Andrew, they're not bluffing. My scouts confirm unusual energy readings from the ancient vault where the Star Killer is stored. Hayes stood up, his face showing the weight of leading humanity through its darkest hour. Then we end this before they can use it. Admiral, how quickly can you get our fleet to the vault's location? 6 hours with the new Prometheus engines, Sullivan replied. Do it? And Admiral? Yes, sir. Hayes smiled grimly. Tell the Council. They wanted to play with planet killers. Now they get to see what we've been hiding in the asteroid belt. Torres stepped forward with new intelligence. Mr. President, there's something else. My sources indicate that the Star Killer isn't the only ancient weapon in Council hands. They have an entire arsenal of forbidden technologies. Then we take it all, Hayes declared. Every weapon, every secret, every tool they've used to oppress the galaxy for millennia. It ends now. As the meeting broke up and orders went out to prepare for the final assault, Elena Torres approached her father privately. Dad, what did you mean about what we've been hiding in the asteroid belt? Hayes looked out at the stars, his expression unreadable. Elena, some secrets are too dangerous to share until they're needed. But if the Council wants to threaten genocide, they're about to learn that humanity has been preparing for that possibility since the day we joined their organization. The Final battle for galactic freedom was about to begin. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the ESS Thunderbolt, watching the massive space station grow larger on the view screen. Nexus Prime stretched across the darkness like a glowing city, its towers reaching out in all directions. Millions of lights flickered from its surface, each one representing lives from across the galaxy. This was the heart of the Galactic Council, the place where decisions were made that affected billions of beings on thousands of worlds. Jake had been to Nexus Prime before, but never like this, never with such fear in his chest. The message from Admiral Kate Sullivan had been clear and urgent. The Council was calling for an emergency session, and they wanted Earth's representatives there immediately. No explanations, no details. Just a cold demand wrapped in diplomatic language. "Sir, we're receiving docking instructions," reported Lieutenant Sarah Price from the communications station. Her voice was steady, but Jake could hear the tension. Underneath, everyone on the bridge knew something was wrong. The usual chatter and jokes that filled their journey through space had been replaced by worried silence. "Follow their instructions," Jake ordered. "And Sarah, send a message to Admiral Sullivan. Tell her we've arrived and are ready to escort her to the Council chambers." The Thunderbolt moved slowly through the docking procedures, guided by the station's automated systems. Jake watched other ships in the area. Most belonged to the elder races that had founded the Council thousands of years ago. The sleek silver vessels of the Zephyrian Empire. The dark organic shapes of the Hive ships. The crystal formations that served as transportation for the energy beings of the Nexus Collective. Among them, human ships looked crude and primitive, built for function rather than beauty. Admiral Sullivan's shuttle arrived 30 minutes later. Jake met her at the airlock, noting the grim expression on her face. Kate Sullivan had been Earth's chief diplomat for 15 years, and Jake had never seen her look so worried. "Admiral," Jake said with a formal salute, "what's the situation?" "Bad, Jake, very bad." Sullivan's voice was quiet as they walked toward the shuttle bay. "The Zephyrians have filed a formal complaint against humanity. They claim we violated ancient territorial agreements by expanding into the Outer Rim." Jake frowned. "But we've been colonizing those worlds for 20 years. The Council approved every settlement." "That's what I thought too. But apparently, there are treaties that were signed before Earth even knew aliens existed. Treaties that give the elder races claim to any world they might want, regardless of who's living there now." They boarded Sullivan's shuttle, a sleek diplomatic vessel designed to impress foreign dignitaries. As they traveled through the station's corridors toward the Council chambers, Jake saw representatives from dozens of species. Most ignored the humans completely, but a few watched them with expressions that ranged from curiosity to outright hostility. "How many colonies are we talking about?" Jake asked. "All of them," Sullivan replied. "Every human settlement beyond the Sol system. 17 worlds with over 30 million colonists. The Zephyrians want us to abandon them all." The Council chambers were a massive amphitheater carved from a single piece of crystal. Representatives from the 7 elder races sat on elevated platforms, looking down at the central speaking area where Sullivan would have to stand. Jake took his place in the observer section, along with other human military officers and diplomats. "Hi." Chancellor Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire rose from his platform. He was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and eyes that seemed to glow with inner light. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority of someone who had ruled for centuries. "The Galactic Council recognizes Admiral Kate Sullivan, speaking for the human species," Vextar announced. "You have been summoned to answer serious charges against your people." Sullivan stepped forward, her military bearing evident in every movement. "I am here to represent Earth and all human colonies." "What are these charges?" "Violation of the Nexus Accords," replied Hive Queen Zareth, her insectoid form shifting on her platform. Illegal occupation of restricted territories. Aggressive. Expansion in violation of established boundaries. The human colonies were established with council approval, Sullivan said firmly. Every settlement was registered and approved through proper channels. Approval given in ignorance, Vextar replied coldly. The council was not informed of certain ancient claims to those territories. Claims that predate your species' entry into galactic civilization by millennia. Jake felt anger rising in his chest. This was obviously a setup, a way to force humanity back into the small corner of space they had occupied when first contact was made 50 years ago. But he kept his expression neutral, knowing that any outburst would only make things worse. What exactly are you demanding? Sullivan asked. The 7 elder races exchanged glances before Vextar continued. The Galactic Council hereby orders the immediate withdrawal of all human presence from worlds beyond the Sol system. All colonies must be abandoned within 30 Earth days. Furthermore, the human military fleet will be surrendered to Council authority for decommission. Shocked silence filled the chamber. Jake saw other representatives from younger species looking uncomfortable, but none spoke up. The elder races had made their decision, and no one dared challenge them. And if we refuse? Sullivan asked, her voice deadly quiet. Then humanity will face total economic blockade, Zareth replied. No trade, no communication, no contact with any council species. Your people will be isolated until you comply. Furthermore, Vextar added with what might have been a smile, the council will establish a protective garrison around the Sol system to ensure compliance. For the safety of galactic civilization, humanity must be contained. Jake's hands clenched into fists. They were talking about turning Earth into a prison planet, trapping billions of humans in their home system while abandoning millions more on the colony worlds. It was cruel and inhuman, but delivered with the cold politeness of diplomatic language. Sullivan stood silent for a long moment, her eyes moving from one council member to another. Finally she spoke, her voice carrying across the chamber with perfect clarity. Humanity came to the stars seeking friendship and cooperation. We have tried to be your partners, your allies, your friends. We have followed council law, respected council decisions, and contributed to council civilization. She paused, letting her words sink in. But if you insist on making us your enemies, then you will learn something important about the human species. And what is that? Vextar asked. With obvious contempt, Sullivan's expression hardened. You will learn why we survived when the dinosaurs didn't. The chamber erupted in shocked whispers and angry clicks from various species. Jake felt a mixture of pride and terror at Sullivan's words. She had just declared war on the most powerful alliance in the galaxy. But as he looked at the arrogant faces of the elder races, he realized that war might be the only option left. The council session ended with formal notice that humanity had 30 days to comply with the ultimatum. As they made their way back to the Thunderbolt, Jake could see the wheels turning in Sullivan's mind. Admiral, he said quietly, what do we do now? Sullivan looked out at the stars visible through the station's windows. Now, Jake, we go home and prepare for war. The council thinks they know what humanity is capable of. She smiled grimly. They're about to find out how wrong they are. The ancient vault holding the Star Killer was a fortress built inside a dead moon, protected by energy barriers that had stood for 10,000 years. Commander Ryan Torres approached the facility with his strike team, their stealth ships invisible to the ancient sensors that guarded the weapon. Ghost leader to all units, Torres whispered into his comm system. Remember, we're not just stopping a weapon. We're ending the Council's reign of terror forever. Inside the vault, High Chancellor Vextar stood before the massive crystalline device that could destroy entire star systems. His hands shook as he prepared to activate the controls that would turn Sol into a supernova, killing every human in existence. "They gave us no choice," he muttered to his remaining advisors. "If we cannot rule the galaxy, then we will at least remove this human plague from it." But Vextar never got the chance to complete his genocide. Torres and his team struck like lightning, their advanced weapons cutting through the vault's defenses in minutes. The Chancellor watched in horror as human soldiers in powered armor stormed into the sacred chamber. "You're too late," Vextar snarled, reaching for the activation controls. "The Star Killer will still destroy your homeworld." Torres smiled grimly. "That would be a problem if we were just here to stop you." He activated a device that sent signals throughout the vault's computer systems. "We're here to take everything." Dr. Helen Wade's virus, upgraded with Nexari technology, spread through the ancient networks like wildfire. But this wasn't just sabotage anymore. The virus was copying and downloading every piece of Forbidden's technology the Council had hidden. Away for millennia. Within hours, human scientists across the galaxy were receiving blueprints for weapons that could reshape reality itself. Planet crackers, time manipulators, dimensional rifts. The Council had hoarded technologies that most species couldn't even imagine. "Mr. President," Dr. Wade reported from her laboratory, "we now have access to the Council's entire Forbidden's arsenal. But sir, some of these weapons are too dangerous to ever use." President Andrew Hayes studied the technical readouts on his screen. "Then we'll make sure no one can use them again." "Elena, how are the surrender negotiations proceeding?" Ambassador Elena Torres looked up from her diplomatic terminal. "The Council is demanding safe passage for their leadership and protection for their core worlds. They're still acting like they have bargaining power." "They don't," Hayes replied. "Firmly, tell them unconditional surrender or total destruction. Those are their only options." The final confrontation came at Nexus Prime itself, where Admiral Kate Sullivan's combined fleet surrounded the Galactic Council's capital station. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species formed a massive blockade, all united under the banner of Galactic Freedom. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UE's Vengeance, watching as Council representatives emerged from the station in small diplomatic shuttles. "Admiral, they're requesting permission to board for surrender negotiations." "Granted," Sullivan replied. "But Jake, this isn't a negotiation. This is the end of their empire." The surrender ceremony took place in the Vengeance's main conference room. High Chancellor Vextar, Hive Queen Zarath, and the other surviving Council leaders sat across from human military officers, their ancient arrogance finally broken by the reality of total defeat. The Galactic Council formally surrenders all military forces and government authority to the human-led coalition. Vextar read from a prepared statement, his voice hollow with despair. But Admiral Sullivan had something more important to announce. "The human species rejects your surrender," she said, causing shocked gasps from the alien delegates. "We're not here to replace your tyranny with our own." She activated a holographic display showing the new governmental structure that human leaders had been planning. "Instead, we're establishing the Galactic Republic, a democratic federation where all species have equal representation." Elena Torres stepped forward with the founding documents. "Every species will have a voice in galactic government. Every world will have the right to self-determination. The age of oppression is over." The former council leaders struggled to understand this concept. "You're giving up supreme power?" Zarath asked, her insectoid features expressing confusion. "You could rule the entire galaxy." "That's exactly why we won't," President Hayes replied via holographic transmission from Earth. "Power corrupts. And absolute power corrupts absolutely. Humanity learned that lesson centuries ago. The transition wasn't immediate." Across the galaxy, human fleets worked with their alien allies to establish new governments on thousands of worlds. Some systems chose independence, others formed regional federations, and many joined the new republic immediately. Dr. Wade led teams of scientists in destroying the most dangerous weapons from the Council's forbidden arsenal. These technologies are too risky to exist, she explained to concerned allies. Some knowledge is better forgotten. But humanity kept the defensive technologies, sharing them freely with all Republic members. Energy shields, quantum engines, advanced medical systems, every species benefited from the technological exchange that followed liberation. The most touching moment came when the Nexari delegation arrived at Earth's orbital shipyards. Dr. Calais, Nexari, tears streaming down her face, presented humanity with their gift, the most advanced starship ever designed. "We name her the U.S. Liberty," Kala announced. "She carries the best technology from every Republic species, built through cooperation instead of oppression." Captain Morrison was chosen to command the Liberty, leading the new Republican fleet on missions of exploration and peacekeeping. Ship's crew included representatives from 47 different species, all working together as equals. The first democratic elections for the Galactic Senate took place exactly 1 year after the Council's surrender. Admiral Sullivan won the position of Chancellor, but not through human votes alone. Species across the galaxy chose her because she had proven that strength could be used to protect rather than oppress. The former Council species were allowed to participate as equals, despite their history of tyranny. Many of their citizens were grateful to be free from the oppressive leadership that had claimed to represent them for millennia. 5 years later, Morrison stood on the bridge of the Liberty as it approached a newly discovered star system on the galaxy's edge. His crew was busy cataloging planets that might support life, planning peaceful first contact protocols that would invite new species to join the Republic as equals. "Captain," reported his Corvan science officer, "we're detecting signs of intelligent life on the third planet. Preliminary scans suggest they're just beginning to develop spaceflight." Morrison smiled, remembering humanity's first contact with the galaxy so many decades ago. "Begin standard first contact procedures. Send messages of peace and friendship. Let them know they're not alone in the universe." His Nexari communications officer looked up from her station. "Sir, what if they're hostile? What if they see us as invaders?" "Then we'll prove them wrong," Morrison replied. "We'll show them what." Humanity learned the hard way that the strongest civilizations are built on cooperation, not conquest. As the Liberty approached the unknown world, Morrison made an entry in the ship's log. "The Galactic Council pushed humanity too far, and we responded by going further than anyone imagined possible. But we didn't go alone. We brought the entire galaxy with us, from tyranny to freedom, from oppression to hope." He paused, looking out at the stars that no longer belonged to any empire or council, but to all the free peoples who called them home. "Today we make first contact with a new species, not as conquerors or rulers, but as friends offering a place in the community of free worlds. The galaxy is finally at peace, and humanity helped build that peace not through war, but through the simple idea that everyone deserves freedom." The message of peace was transmitted toward the unknown planet below, carrying with it the promise that no species would ever again face the choice between submission and destruction. The age of Galactic tyranny was over, replaced by something better, a republic of equals reaching for the stars together.